Top 10 most infamous murderers in history. The world's most notorious killers. Number 10. Pedro Alonso Lopez, known as the Monster of the Andes, born October 8, 1948, in Santa Isabel, Colombia, is a Colombian serial killer who is believed to have murdered over 300 young girls across Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru during the 1970s and 1980s. Lopez had a difficult and abusive childhood, which involved neglect, physical abuse, and sexual violence. His early life experiences of trauma and mistreatment played a significant role in shaping his later violent behavior. He was known for his cruelty and the complete disregard he had for human life. Lopez's crimes went undetected for years as he moved across various countries, choosing vulnerable girls as his victims. Lopez was arrested in 1980 after being caught trying to abduct a young girl in Ecuador. He confessed to killing over 300 girls, though the exact number remains unverified. His victims were usually young, poor, and often from marginalized backgrounds. He would lure his victims with promises of employment or companionship, only to strangle them or kill them in other brutal ways. After his arrest, Lopez claimed that he would choose his victims based on their resemblance to his mother, who had allegedly mistreated him. He often kept their bodies in remote areas, sometimes leaving them in shallow graves. Lopez's capture came after the attempted abduction of a young girl, which led authorities to connect him to a series of missing persons cases. After his arrest, he was charged with the murder of 110 girls, though he claimed responsibility for many more. Lopez was sentenced to life imprisonment in Ecuador, but in 1994, he was released after serving just 14 years due to the country's laws at the time. His fate after release remains unclear. Some reports suggest he may have been freed or disappeared, making his current whereabouts unknown. Number 9. Dennis Rader. Born March 9, 1945, in Pittsburgh, Kansas, USA. Dennis Rader, known as the BTK killer, meaning bind, torture, kill, was an American serial killer who committed at least 10 murders in Kansas between 1974 and 1991. Rader led a seemingly ordinary life, working as a compliance officer for a local church and being an active member of his community. He was married with 2 children, presenting a normal front while secretly engaging in horrific crimes. His ability to balance his family life with his dark secret made him particularly chilling. Rader's criminal activities were marked by meticulous planning and a cold, methodical approach to his killings. Rader's first known murder occurred in 1974, when he killed the Otero family. He bound, tortured, and killed a father, mother, and 2 children. His modus operandi was to bind his victims, sexually assault them, and then murder them. He left detailed and disturbing letters describing his crimes, taunting the police and the media. Rader continued to kill intermittently over the years, eluding capture for decades. He took a break from killing in the 1980s, but resumed in 1985 with the murder of a woman named Vicky Wegro. His final victim was a woman named Dolores D. Davis, who was murdered in 1991. In 2005, after years of evading capture, Rader was arrested after sending letters to police that contained DNA evidence. His capture was a result of forensic advancements, including DNA analysis, which linked him to the BTK murders. Rader confessed to the murders and was convicted of 10 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Rader's case highlighted the dangers of individuals who can compartmentalize their violent tendencies and live seemingly normal lives. Number 8. Gary Ridgway. Born February 18, 1949, in Salt Lake City, Utah, USA. Gary Ridgway, known as the Green River Killer, is one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. He was arrested in 2001 after being linked through DNA evidence to the murders of 49 women, most of whom were prostitutes. Ridgway's killing spree began in the 1980s and continued until his arrest in the early 2000s. His ability to evade detection for so long is a testament to the difficulty of solving serial murders, particularly in a community where many of his victims were marginalized women. Ridgway targeted vulnerable women who were involved in prostitution or runaways. He would often strangle his victims and leave their bodies in remote areas, especially near the Green River, from which he got his moniker. Ridgway would sometimes revisit his crime scenes, showing a disturbing level of control over his victims even after their deaths. His method of killing was methodical, and he confessed to the murders in exchange for a deal that spared him the death penalty. Ridgway was arrested in 2001 after his DNA was linked to several of the crime scenes. He was convicted of 49 murders and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He cooperated with law enforcement, providing details of his murders and helping to locate the remains of many of his victims. Ridgway's case highlighted the challenges of solving serial murder cases involving marginalized individuals. His ability to evade capture for so many years is a grim reminder of how difficult it can be to connect multiple murders. Ridgway's story has been the subject of numerous investigations and documentaries, and his legacy continues to shape the way. Number 7. Ed Gein. Full name, Edward Theodore Gein. Born August 27, 1906, in Plainfield, Wisconsin, USA. Ed Gein, known as the Butcher of Plainfield, is one of the most infamous figures in American criminal history. He was a grave robber and murderer whose gruesome acts inspired numerous horror films, including Psycho and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Gein's childhood was marked by severe neglect and a dominant, abusive mother. He became obsessed with the idea of creating a woman's suit from human skin and body parts after his mother's death. Gein was known for exhuming bodies from local graveyards and using the body parts to create furniture, clothing, and other items. He was arrested after the disappearance of a local woman, Bernice Wardens, in 1957. Upon searching his home, authorities discovered a nightmarish collection of body parts, including skulls, bones, and human skin. Gein confessed to 2 murders, but his body-snatching activities and the discovery of the remains of many more victims led to a widespread horror. Gein was arrested in 1957 and was found to be insane at the time of his crimes. He was institutionalized and spent the remainder of his life in a mental asylum. He died of cancer in 1984. Gein's case has been the subject of numerous investigations and documentaries due to the disturbing nature of his crimes. Number 6. John Wayne Gacy. Born March 17, 1942, in Chicago, Illinois, USA. John Wayne Gacy, also known as a killer clown, was an American serial killer and sex offender who lured young boys and young men to his home, where he would torture, sexually assault, and murder them. Gacy worked as a successful contractor and even performed at children's parties as Pogo the Clown. His outwardly normal persona and reputation in the community as a friendly and charitable man made him a seemingly unlikely suspect, but he hid a dark, violent secret. Gacy's killing spree began in 1972 and lasted until his arrest in 1978. He would often lure his victims by pretending to offer them work or promising a good time. Once in his home, he would overpower them, handcuff them, and torture them before killing them. Many of his victims were buried beneath his house, while others were discarded in nearby rivers. Gacy's brutal murders and the discovery of the bodies in his crawl space shocked the nation. He confessed to 33 murders, making him one of the most prolific serial killers in history. Gacy's arrest came after the disappearance of a 15-year-old boy named Robert Piest. The boy's parents became suspicious of Gacy's involvement, and police began investigating. They discovered Gacy's gruesome crimes after searching his home and finding the remains of his victims. In 1980, Gacy was convicted of 33 murders and sentenced to death. He was executed by lethal injection in 1994. Gacy's case is notorious not only for the sheer number of victims, but also for the bizarre nature of his dual life as a community leader and serial killer. His Pogo the Clown persona has since become synonymous with the horror of his crimes, making him one of the most chilling serial killers in modern history. Number 5. Richard Ramirez. Full name, Ricardo Leyva Munoz Ramirez. Born February 29, 1960, in El Paso, Texas, USA. Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker, was a serial killer, rapist, and burglar who terrorized Southern California between 1984 and 1985. Growing up in a dysfunctional family, Ramirez's early life was marked by exposure to violence, drug use, and the influence of his older cousin, who was a decorated Vietnam War veteran. The trauma of his early years, combined with his later fascination with Satanism, led Ramirez down a path of depravity and violence. Ramirez's crime spree began in 1984 and lasted until his arrest in 1985. He was known for breaking into homes at night, using weapons such as guns, knives, and blunt objects to attack his victims. He was also a prolific sexual assailant, and his victims ranged from children to elderly individuals. His crimes were characterized by random violence, and many of his victims were brutally murdered, with signs of ritualistic behavior in some of the killings. Ramirez's crime scenes often displayed pentagrams or other satanic symbols, which led to the media dubbing him the Night Stalker. Ramirez was finally apprehended in 1985 after his mugshot was widely circulated and recognized by a group of citizens who identified him. He was convicted of 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. Ramirez was sentenced to death and spent over 20 years on death row. In 2013, he died the most notorious in U.S. history, as his combination of home invasion, brutal violence, and satanic rituals captured the public's imagination. His story has been portrayed in numerous documentaries, books, and films, and his legacy is a chilling reminder of the dangers posed by individuals who operate in complete anonymity. Ramirez's case also brought attention to the effectiveness of citizen involvement in crime solving, as it was the public that helped track him down. Number 4. Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper is a pseudonym given to one of the most infamous unidentified serial killers in history. Operating in the impoverished Whitechapel district of London in 1888, Jack the Ripper is believed to have brutally murdered at least 5 women, all of whom were prostitutes. The killer's identity remains one of the greatest mysteries in criminal history, with numerous theories surrounding the case. What makes the case particularly chilling is the savagery of the killings and the fact that the Ripper was never caught, leaving behind a trail of fear and uncertainty. The first victim, Marion Nichols, was found on August 31st, 1888. She was followed by Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. The Ripper's modus operandi was horrific. He would slit his victims' throats, often mutilating their bodies, removing organs, and sometimes even performing dissection-like rituals. His killings were particularly disturbing due to the level of detail involved, suggesting that the murderer had some knowledge of anatomy. His taunting letters sent to the police and newspapers further increased the fear and fascination with the case. Jack the Ripper's story has captivated the public imagination for over a century. His ability to terrorize the streets of London with impunity created a sense of hysteria and fear that was unprecedented. The case has been subject to countless investigations, documentaries, and fictionalized accounts, but the identity of the killer remains unknown. The mystery of Jack the Ripper has led to numerous theories about his identity, ranging from medical professionals to members of the British royal family. Number 3. Aileen Wuornos. Born February 29, 1956, in Rochester, Michigan, USA. Aileen Wuornos was a prostitute who became a notorious female serial killer in Florida. Her life was marked by abuse, neglect, and a turbulent childhood. She was abandoned by her mother and raised by her grandparents, enduring years of emotional and physical trauma. Wuornos was known to have been sexually assaulted multiple times throughout her early life, which may have influenced her later violent tendencies. Her early life was marred by homelessness, substance abuse, and prostitution. Wuornos claimed that she killed in self-defense after being attacked by her clients. Her first known victim was Richard Mallory, a man she shot and killed in 1989. Wuornos killed 6 more men over the next year, each time claiming that the men had tried to sexually assault her. She would rob them, shoot them, and leave their bodies in remote areas. The killings were brutal and systematic, and Wuornos' connection to each murder was uncovered after her arrest in 1991. She was charged with the murders of 7 men. Wuornos was apprehended in 1991 after a tip from a witness led police to her. During her trial, Wuornos was convicted of 6 murders and sentenced to death. She claimed that she killed in self-defense, but her defense was not successful. Despite this, she became a sympathetic figure in some circles, particularly due to the abuse she endured throughout her life. In 2002, after more than a decade on death row, she was executed by lethal injection. Wuornos' case raised debates over the criminal justice system's treatment of women and the mentally ill. Aileen Wuornos remains one of the most infamous female serial killers, and her life has been portrayed in several films, including Monster, where Charlize Theron's portrayal of Wuornos earned critical acclaim. Wernoz's crimes raise significant questions about the intersection of mental illness, abuse, and violence. Number 2. Andrei Chikatilo. Born October 16, 1936, in Yablokno, Soviet Union. Andrei Chikatilo, known as the Butcher of Rostov, was one of the most terrifying serial killers in Soviet history. Chikatilo was born into poverty and suffered a difficult childhood marked by hunger and fear. His upbringing was abusive, and he later experienced significant difficulties with relationships and his sexuality. Chikatilo's inability to connect with others or form normal relationships led to his eventual descent into violence. He was a teacher by profession, but his dark urges drove him to commit a series of brutal killings. Chikatilo's first known murder occurred in 1978. His victims were usually women or children, whom he lured into remote locations. He would often attempt to rape them and then murder them, mutilating their bodies afterward. He was known for the gruesome nature of his killings, and he would often disembowel or castrate his victims, making his crimes even more grotesque. For years, he managed to evade the police, despite the number of his victims continuing to grow. He was known for his ability to blend into society, living a double life as a quiet and unassuming teacher while secretly committing horrific crimes. After years of investigations and numerous failed attempts to catch him, Chikatilo was finally apprehended in 1990. His arrest was the result of a massive investigation that included psychological profiling and forensic analysis. In 1992, he was convicted of 52 murders and was sentenced to death. Chikatilo was executed by firing squad in 1994. Chikatilo's case is infamous for the gruesome nature of his crimes and his ability to evade capture for so long. His murders are often cited in criminal psychology studies as examples of disorganized killers, individuals who act impulsively and without a clear pattern. His case also raised questions about the limitations of Soviet law enforcement at the time, and it became a subject of study for criminologists interested in serial killers. Number 1. Ted Bundy. Full name: Theodore Robert Bundy. Born November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont, USA. Ted Bundy is one of the most infamous serial killers in modern American history, responsible for the murders of at least 30 young women across multiple states in the 1970s. His crime spanned several years, during which he used his charm, good looks, and intelligence to lure his victims. He often posed as a disabled man or feigned injury to gain his victims' trust before overpowering them. Bundy was able to blend into society, holding a respectable job and even studying law, which made him seem like an unlikely suspect. His ability to manipulate and deceive was one of his most dangerous traits. Bundy's first known crime was the abduction and murder of a 12-year-old girl in 1974. His later victims included young women, mostly in their late teens or early 20s, who were brunette, similar in appearance to his ex-girlfriend, who had rejected him. His crimes followed a distinct pattern. He would abduct his victims, sometimes in broad daylight, take them to secluded locations, and commit acts of sexual assault and murder. Afterward, he would often revisit the crime scenes, sometimes even keeping body parts as trophies. Bundy was arrested in 1975 after a routine traffic stop, where police found burglary tools in his car. He was initially linked to the murders by forensic evidence, and his subsequent trial brought him national attention. In 1979, Bundy was convicted for the murder of 2 women and sentenced to death. During his time on death row, he confessed to killing 30 women, though the exact number remains unknown, with some estimates going as high as 36. He was executed by electric chair in Florida on January 24, 1989. Bundy's case has been studied extensively due to the psychological complexity of his personality. He was a textbook example of a charming psychopath who used his charisma to gain the trust of others. His story has been the subject of many books, documentaries, and films, making him one of the most well-known serial killers in the world.